Yeah, so not only putting, essentially creating a situation that would make the fires worse should they happen by removing the towers and banning people with cell phones to be able to report on these fires, but there's another concern, which is a freedom of movement concern, because as far as I understand, the Canadian Charter of Rights does have within it a freedom of movement. People are supposed to be allowed to move freely. Now, there are restrictions, and one of those restrictions was challenged, I believe, in Nova Scotia during the pandemic, or around the pandemic time, where that freedom of movement could be limited by things like public health was one of them. But as far as I understand, that case was won for the freedom of movement. So people should have freedom of movement in this country based in charter rights. And so, Jeff, I'll turn it to you. Is that what you're trying to challenge right now?
Yes, absolutely. And what you're talking about in terms of limitations, they must be reasonable. They cannot be arbitrary. That is the difference between totalitarianism and our society. So when it comes to any measures that they put in place that interfere with my liberties, they need to be minimally impairing. And there was no effort to make these measures minimally impairing with respect to my liberties whatsoever. They went all the way to a full-scale woods ban of my presence, period, within the woods, instead of taking any other steps leading up to that, like, say, for example, they could ban smoking in the woods, they could ban, like, any source of ignition from the woods if they wanted. But you know, like I said, there appears to have been no thought given to lesser measures that would be less impairing prior to going straight to a woods ban. So that is the issue with respect to the limitations, and also those limitations must be logically connected to the goal. In this case, the goal is preventing wildfires. My sneakers are not a fire hazard, so there's no logical connection between my sneakers in the woods and the prevention of wildfires. So that's what I find to be so unconstitutional on its face in terms of the ban itself. And then we get into the fine, which is, like Peter just mentioned, you know, it's a $28,872.50 fine grand total, because they put victim fees on top of that, $25,000 initially, and that would be, I think, prohibited under Section 12 of the Charter that prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. So I think we have plenty of grounds, charter grounds, on which to stand to challenge this ban.